Principles Show daily podcast by and for you.
Buckle up, everyone, because today we are launching ourselves headfirst into the world of space.
Ooh, I like it. Space. And the big news today is coming out of China.
You got it. China's making some serious moves when it comes to space innovation, and we're going to break it all down for you today.
Awesome. Let's do it.
So our deep dive today is taking off from an article on the BRICS joint website. It was published just a few days ago on November 8th, 2024.
Very recent.
Yeah. And the title is pretty straightforward. It's called Aerospace Information and Satellite Internet Innovation China.
Straight to the point.
Exactly. So to kick things off, let's talk about this new development that the article really dives into. It's the launch of something called the Aerospace Information and Satellite Internet Innovation Alliance.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
Oh, I don't even want to try. What is this thing? It sounds kind of like a mouthful.
Yeah, well, the name is a bit of a mouthful. I'll give you that.
Right.
But basically, you can think of it as China bringing together all of its best and brightest in the field of space technology.
So who exactly are we talking about? Is this just like a bunch of rocket scientists in a room?
It's bigger than that. It's a mix of government agencies, universities, research institutions, and even private companies. They're all coming together, pooling their resources and expertise to really push the boundaries of what's possible in space.
Wow. So this is a massive collaborative effort. It's not just like one little lab working on something in isolation.
Right. It's a nationwide push to become a global leader in space technology.
Ambitious much.
You bet.
All right. So the article throws around some pretty technical terms like space data systems and orbital connectivity networks. Can you break that down for us, non-rocket scientists?
Sure, Simming. So imagine a future where information travels seamlessly across the globe, powered by a network of satellites. That's what they're working towards.
Okay, that sounds pretty futuristic. So how do these space data systems and networks fit into that vision?
Well, space data systems are essentially the infrastructure and technology needed to manage and transmit huge amounts of data from space.
So it's like building a superhighway for information, but in space.
Precisely. It's like building the internet, but on a cosmic scale. And those orbital connectivity networks, they're the backbone of this system. They link satellites together to create a kind of digital constellation that wraps around the Earth.
Okay, so you're telling me that they're basically building the internet in space.
That's a pretty good way to put it. And this has implications far beyond just like taking cool pictures of planets and stuff. This technology could revolutionize how we communicate, how we gather information, and even how we respond to disasters.
Whoa, okay, that's getting my attention now. So what's the motivation behind all of this? Why is China pouring so much effort and resources into this?
It's not just about scientific curiosity. China has made clear that they want to be a major player in what's called the global space economy.
So there's an economic angle to all of this.
Definitely. Space is becoming increasingly important for things like communication, navigation, Earth observation, you name it. And China sees the strategic value in being a leader in these areas.
Right, it's not just about exploring the unknown anymore. Space is becoming more and more integrated into our daily lives.
You're absolutely right. And this alliance is a way for China to solidify its position at the forefront of this growing industry.
So how do they actually plan to make this happen? We've got this alliance, we've got the big goals, but what are the concrete steps?
Well, think of it like this. The government is providing the funding, and the infrastructure universities are doing the cutting-edge research, and private companies are bringing the entrepreneurial spirit to turn those discoveries into real-world applications.
So it's a kind of ecosystem that's designed to fuel innovation.
Exactly. They're creating this synergy where each part of the alliance feeds into the others, and together they can achieve some really remarkable things.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture here. But give me some specifics. What are some examples of the kind of technological advancements they're hoping to make?
Well, 2 key areas that they're focusing on are, first, they want to develop even more advanced space data systems.
So like even better ways to handle all that information coming down from space.
Right. It's not enough to just collect data. You have to be able to process it, analyze it, and use it effectively. And then the second area is building those robust orbital connectivity networks we talked about.
Right, the space internet.
Yeah. Exactly. And that means launching and networking constellations of satellites to provide reliable communication links across huge distances.
I can see how that would have some pretty major implications for everything from global communications to disaster relief efforts.
Absolutely. Think about a remote village in a developing country suddenly having access to high-speed internet thanks to these satellites. Or imagine first responders being able to communicate in real time during a natural disaster, even if cell towers are down.
Wow, you're painting quite the picture here. So this isn't just some abstract science project. This has the potential to really change lives.
That's exactly what they're hoping for.
But this isn't just a solo mission for China, is it? They seem to be very open to international collaboration.
You're right. The article explicitly mentions that the alliance aims to foster global partnerships in developing and applying these technologies. They're inviting other countries to join them in shaping the future of space exploration and innovation.
So they're not just building a wall around their technology, they're building bridges to the rest of the world.
Exactly. They recognize that collaboration is key to pushing the boundaries in this field.
Okay, but let's be realistic for a moment. Anytime you have this kind of international collaboration, especially in a field as complex as space, there are bound to be some challenges.
Oh, absolutely. It's not all going to be smooth sailing.
So what are some of the potential roadblocks they might hit?
Well, one of the biggest challenges will be navigating geopolitical tensions.
Yeah, the space race has always been intertwined with international politics.
Right. So finding a way to collaborate effectively while also safeguarding national interests will be a delicate balancing act.
It sounds like they're walking a tightrope, trying to achieve these ambitious goals while also dealing with all the complexities of international relations.
It's definitely a complex situation, but the potential rewards are huge. If they can pull this off, it could really change the way we think about and interact with space.
It's almost like they're writing the rule book for a whole new era of space exploration.
That's a great way to put it. They're not just advancing technology, they're shaping the future of how we explore and utilize space.
Okay, so we've got a pretty good grasp on the alliance itself now. But I'm curious about the bigger picture. This isn't just a China story, right?
Not at all. The ripple effects of this alliance could be felt all over the world.
So how might this reshape the global space industry as a whole?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
I'd say it's worth at least a few billion.
If this alliance really takes off and fosters a truly collaborative environment, it could lead to an unprecedented acceleration of innovation in space.
Okay, so paint me a picture here. What are we talking about?
Think about lunar bases built through joint ventures, asteroid mining operations with international teams, and even missions to Mars with crews from all over the world. This alliance could be the first step towards space exploration becoming a truly global human endeavor.
Whoa, okay, now you're really getting me excited. That sounds like a future straight out of science fiction.
Well, maybe science fiction isn't so far-fetched after all.
Maybe not. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. There are still plenty of challenges to overcome, and we'll need to see how this all plays out in the real world.
Right. But the potential is there.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so exciting to watch.
Okay, so now that we have a good overview of the alliance and its potential impact, let's shift gears a little bit.
Alec, where are we headed?
Well, let's talk about what we should be paying attention to in the coming months and years. What are the key developments to watch for as this alliance takes flight?
All right, let's dive into that. Well, I think the first thing to keep an eye on is the specifics, the nitty-gritty of what projects and initiatives actually come out of this alliance.
So we need to look beyond the big announcements and the flashy headlines and see what they actually do.
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words, right? So pay attention to any news about joint research projects, satellite launches, development of new technologies, that sort of thing.
Okay, so that's on the tech side. What about the international collaboration aspect? Are there specific partnerships we should be looking out for?
Absolutely. The alliance has made it clear that they're open to global participation, so it'll be interesting to see which countries decide to jump on board and partner up with China.
Do you think it'll mostly be countries that are already big players in space? Or could we see some unexpected newcomers joining the party?
That's a great question. It's probably going to be a mix of both, the established space powers and some up-and-coming nations that are eager to get a foothold in this growing industry.
And I imagine the dynamics between those partners will be something to watch.
Oh, for sure. Will it be a truly collaborative effort, or will there be some underlying competition and tension, jostling for position?
It's like a geopolitical drama, but set in space. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of geopolitics, another key area to watch is how they develop international norms and regulations for all this new tech.
Right. We talked about this a bit earlier, but it's super important. As these space-based systems become more and more powerful and interconnected, we need clear rules of the road.
Absolutely. Issues like data security, privacy, responsible use of space, even preventing the militarization of space. All of that needs to be figured out on a global scale.
So it's not just about the cool technology, it's about creating a framework for how we use it responsibly.
We got it. The decisions they make now will have a huge impact on the future of space activity for everyone.
No pressure, right.
Right.
No pressure.
Oh, okay, so we've talked about the technical stuff, the political stuff, the international stuff. What about the potential benefits? Can you give us some concrete examples of how this alliance could actually make a difference in the world?
Sure. I think one of the most exciting possibilities is using these satellite networks to provide internet access to remote areas all over the world.
So places that have traditionally been cut off from the digital world could suddenly be connected.
Exactly. Imagine a village in rural Africa or a remote island community suddenly having access to online education, healthcare resources, business opportunities. The possibilities are endless.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it. Technology like this could really level the playing field and give everyone a chance to participate in the global economy.
Right, and it's not just about economic development either. These networks could also be a lifeline during emergencies.
Like providing communication and coordination for disaster relief efforts.
Exactly. When disaster strikes, being able to get information and resources to the people who need them most is crucial. And these satellite networks could be a game changer in those situations.
It sounds like this technology has the potential to address some of the world's most pressing challenges.
That's the hope. Of course, it's not a silver bullet, but it's a powerful tool that could be used to make a real difference in people's lives.
Okay, I'm sold on the potential benefits. But let's get back to those challenges for a moment. We talked about geopolitical tensions, but are there any other potential roadblocks we should be aware of?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest hurdles will be trying to reconcile all the different regulations and ethical considerations that come into play when you have so many countries involved.
Right. Different countries have different laws, different cultural norms, different ideas about things like data privacy and intellectual property.
Exactly. So finding a way to harmonize all of those different perspectives and create a framework that everyone can agree on, that's going to be a major challenge.
It sounds like it'll take a lot of diplomacy and compromise.
Oh, absolutely. But that's part of what makes this so interesting. It's not just about the technology. It's about finding ways to work together as a global community to use that technology for the benefit of all humankind.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the potential benefits, the potential challenges, the technological breakthroughs, the geopolitical maneuvering. What's the main takeaway for you? What's the big picture here?
I think for me, the most exciting thing about this alliance is that it represents a shift in how we think about space. We're moving away from this idea of space as a frontier to be conquered by individual nations and towards a more collaborative approach.
So instead of competing against each other, we're starting to see space as something we need to work together to explore and utilize responsibly.
Exactly. And that's a really hopeful and inspiring vision, I think. It shows that even as we reach for the stars, we're recognizing the importance of global cooperation and shared responsibility.
Well said. And I think that's a great note to end on for this part of our deep dive.
Agreed. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll delve into some of the key questions we should be asking as we watch this alliance unfold.
All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into China's ambitious space alliance.
And we've covered a lot of ground, from the technical details to the potential benefits and challenges, and of course, the geopolitical implications.
But as we look ahead, what are some of the key questions we should be asking as this alliance takes shape?
Well, first and foremost, who else is going to join the party? Which countries will decide to partner up with China in this venture?
Yeah, will it be the usual suspects, the countries that are already major players in space, or could we see some surprising new entrants?
That's what I'm curious about. And what will the dynamics be like between those partners? Will it be a true collaboration, or will there be some underlying competition and maybe even a little bit of tension?
Ooh, a little space drama? I'm here for it.
Always. But seriously, the success of this alliance will depend heavily on how well they can navigate those international relationships.
And speaking of navigating things, another big question is, how will they handle all the thorny issues that come up when you're talking about space?
You mean things like data security and privacy responsible use of space resources and making sure this technology isn't used for military purposes?
Exactly. All those big ethical and legal questions that we need to grapple with as we move further into this new era of space exploration.
Yeah, it's not enough to just develop the technology we have to make sure we're using it wisely and responsibly. And that requires some serious thought and international cooperation.
No small feat, for sure. But if they can pull it off, the potential benefits are huge. I mean, we've talked about everything from connecting remote communities to monitoring the environment to even pushing the boundaries of human exploration.
And who knows what other possibilities might emerge as this technology continues to develop. We might be on the verge of breakthroughs that we can't even imagine right now.
Okay, I gotta admit, I'm getting pretty excited about the future of space now. This alliance is definitely something to keep our eyes on.
Absolutely. It's a bold and ambitious undertaking, and the world will be watching closely to see how it unfolds.
Well, listeners, we've reached the end of our deep dive into China's ambitious space alliance. I hope you found it as fascinating as we did.
We've covered a lot of ground, and there's still much more to explore as the story continues to develop.
But I think the key takeaway for me is this shift in perspective. We're moving away from the idea of space as a frontier to be conquered by individual nations and towards a more collaborative and cooperative approach.
And that's something worth celebrating, because when we work together, we can achieve truly incredible things.
So as always, keep looking up, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of science and technology.